Okay, so picture this. You've got a princess who's declared illegitimate, a woman imprisoned by her own sister, and she's the heir to a kingdom that's literally tearing itself apart. Against all odds, Elizabeth I didn't just survive. She became one of England's most legendary rulers. So, how in the world did she pull that off, right? How does a young woman with a giant target on her back navigate a court full of deadly enemies and a nation on the brink of civil war and somehow forge a golden age? That's what we're going to unpack. To really get Elizabeth the Queen, you have to understand the absolutely terrifying world she was born into. Her story doesn't start in some fairy tale palace. It starts right in the middle of a political firestorm. I mean, just try to imagine it. You're not even 3 years old. One day, you're a princess. The next, your mother, Queen Anne Boleyn, is publicly executed. And just like that, your whole world collapses. You're not a princess anymore. You're just the Lady Elizabeth, a walking, talking reminder of a royal scandal. She was literally called the unwanted child. But here's the thing. Elizabeth's personal crisis was really just a small part of a much, much bigger national one. The England she was born into was having a complete identity crisis, and it was getting violent. Just look at this timeline. It shows the sheer whiplash the country was going through. In just a few decades, the official religion flips from Catholic to Protestant, then to super Protestant under Edward. Then it swings violently back to Catholic under Mary. People were being killed for what they believed. This wasn't just a debate. It was a deadly roller coaster, and Elizabeth was about to be strapped into the driver's seat. This constant back and forth between two extremes created this climate of total chaos and fear for everybody. But for Elizabeth, this wasn't some abstract political issue. She didn't just inherit a crown, she inherited a nation that was at war with itself. And this national crisis, for Elizabeth, it was intensely personal. Remember that political firestorm? Well, her own father started it, and it led directly to the execution of her mother in the infamous Tower of London. And then, something truly terrifying happens. Her Catholic half-sister, Queen Mary, decides Elizabeth is a Protestant threat. So where does she imprison her? In the exact same tower. Can you even imagine the psychological terror, walking the same halls as your executed mother, knowing that the same fate could so easily be yours? But even here, facing death, her incredible mind just shines through. They say she scratched this defiant little poem into a window. It's basically a masterclass in survival. She's declaring her innocence while kind of calling out her accusers at the same time. This is not a scared little princess. This is a queen in waiting. So when she finally takes the throne in 1558, job number one is to fix this religious civil war. And her solution wasn't to pick a side. It was to create a new one. So here's the fundamental problem, right? For Catholics, the Pope in Rome is the boss. For Protestants, the king or queen is the boss. Latin versus English. These were seen as totally non-negotiable positions that people were, willing to kill and die for. Elizabeth's fix was pure political genius. She created something called the religious settlement, basically a compromise. It made England a Protestant country, yeah, but it kept a lot of the familiar ceremonies that Catholics were used to. The goal wasn't to create the perfect religion. It was to keep the country from falling apart, a middle way to pull everyone back from the brink. So, she tackled the religious war, check, but she had another huge problem, her own legitimacy. Remember, as the daughter of the disgraced Anne Boleyn, people were constantly questioning her right to rule. Her solution? One of the most brilliant public relations campaigns in history. Yeah, she did not leave her image to chance. As you can see here, she had a whole propaganda toolkit. She used art, she used incredible speeches, and even theater to carefully build this image of a powerful, God-sent monarch. I mean, just look at this. The famous Armada portrait isn't just a nice painting. It's a press release. See her hand resting on the globe? That's her claiming global power. The endless pearls, they symbolize her purity, her whole Virgin Queen brand. Every single detail is a carefully crafted message about her power and her right to rule. And then there were her words. Wow. When the invading Spanish Armada was on its way, she rode out to her troops and delivered this absolute knockout line. In an age where everyone doubted a woman could lead, she just met that challenge head on. It was a speech that cemented her image as a warrior queen, for sure. She also knew how to use pop culture to her advantage. Writers like Shakespeare and Edmund Spenser were encouraged to celebrate her reign. Spenser's huge poem, The Faerie Queene, was basically a fantasy blockbuster starring Elizabeth as this heroic, virtuous queen he called Gloriana. And that name stuck. It came to define her entire era.
So you put all of this together, the brilliant political compromise and this masterful PR campaign, and what do you get? Well, you get an enduring legacy.
And that's the story. The unwanted child didn't just survive, she absolutely thrived. She took a broken, divided country and, through a combination of smart politics and brilliant branding, gave it decades of stability and an explosion of culture. She didn't just rule, she defined an era that we still call a golden age.
Which leaves us with one last question to think about. What was the real secret to her success? Was it her practical political deals that healed the nation? Or was it her incredible personal branding that created an image so powerful no one could touch it? Or maybe, just maybe, the real genius was realizing you can't have one without the other.